Welcome back to day 8 of the 100 horror films in 31 days. I've got sporting my new Pennywise shirt. Day 8 was the theme was zombies. So I finally got around to seeing the Blind Dead saga, Armando Diasario's classic Spanish horror films. I'd actually never sat down and watched these, believe it or not. I missed out, unfortunately, on the coffin box which had each film separately, and then it had a an extra DVD that had kind of a history of Armando Desario. I'd love to pick that up. I wish they'd release this on some kind of a brand new Blu-ray, but it is what it is at this point. The first film, Tombs of the Blind Dead, came out in 1972, and it is a very atmospheric, moody, uh, scary. I mean, honestly, kind of a eerie, creepy movie. Essentially, what Armando did was take the inspiration of Night of the Living Dead, obviously, and throw in this what I thought was a very ingenious idea, which is taking the Knights of the Templar mythos and turning that into undead. So the Knights of the Templars were a religious sect that apparently deviated from Catholicism and ended up getting into Satan worshiping type stuff in the hopes that through uh, basically sacrifices, offering up human sacrifices, they could live forever. They would be immortal. And the villagers caught wind of this and killed them all, strung them up into the gallows, and then had birds peck out their eyes. So these zombies or mummies, if you will, these mummified skeletal monks come back to life at night to seek humans for their sacrifices to keep them immortal. But they're blind and they move extraordinarily slow. And one of the criticisms I think I've heard people say about the Blind Dead films is an 80-year-old crippled grandmother could outrun these things. That's true, but I think it's missing an important point. The important point is that these skeletal monks, first of all, they're immortal, so time is on their side. If they don't get you now, they're going to eventually get you. And they're also hypersensitive, so that they're blind, but all their other senses are extraordinary. Uh, I think it's an oversimplification to just dismiss this off as boring and slow because they move slow. It's extremely moody, atmospheric. I think it certainly inspired Jess Franco's Mansion of the Living Dead. In fact, the scenes where the thing is shot in Spain and Portugal, uh, the castle and the village and all that stuff looks eerily reminiscent of many of Jess Franco's on-site locations that he used. Anyway, I think it was a very excellent film, moody, atmospheric, eerie. I give it a 8 out of 10. Loved it. Next up, Zack Snyder's remake of Dawn of the Dead, 2004. Ving Rhames, I think, makes the movie. I, I thought it was a good watch. It's certainly not better than Dawn of the Dead. I think Dawn of the Dead of the Romero Dead films is the best of all those films, and probably the best zombie film ever made, quite frankly. But that's not to say that this is a bad movie. It's a fun watch. It's entertaining. The zombies move quickly, and there's a couple of spins that are slightly different from the original Dawn of the Dead that I liked. I particularly liked the ending. I enjoyed it, but I think if you take Ving Rhames out of it, who plays the cop in this thing, I think it would go down at least 1 point in rating. So I wrote to rate this a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. for what it was, and I think it was a respectable reboot. Probably, I'm not a huge fan of Zack Snyder, but I think, uh, if I had to go through his filmography and pick a film to watch, it would probably be this one. I enjoyed it for what it was. Next up, 2016's Train to Busan. The director of this, and I've watched this thing a million times. This thing has gotten a lot of accolades. It's one of the best new zombie films to come out in a long time, and I would certainly wholeheartedly agree. But upon this watch, I feel more and more like what we're really getting is an Asian version of 28 Days Later. And that's not a derogatory or negative comment. It's just, it feels like 28 Days Later on a train, which is cool. I mean, I enjoyed it. Lots of action, lots of sympathetic characters. One of the problems I think with zombie movies in general is you don't tend to feel sympathy or a connection to the characters. Like in Dawn of the Dead, to me, Ving Rhames was the guy, and I really connected with him, and that enhanced my uh, enjoyment of the film. In this one, you've got a real asshole stockbroker who ignores his little girl. Finally agrees to take her to visit her mother, who he's estranged with. And at the same time that they're on the train going to see the mother, this virus breaks loose and turns the entire train and really the entire population into these fast-moving, uh, well, zombies, if you will. I mean, it's very much like 28 Days Later. Uh, but there's a lot of good characters in this, a lot of excellent, gripping moments that add some humanity to the proceedings, and it is a great movie, no doubt about it. I can't not I I just think it's a great movie, and it's interesting. The director, having done basically animated films for to to go away from that and make a film like this, I sure hope he does other things going forward. But yeah, I enjoyed Train to Busan. It holds up to repeat viewings. Then, last but not least, I broke open my Umbrella release, The Night of the Living Dead 2 disc set. This has got the original and the remake. I watched the remake, Tom Savini's 1990 remake with Tony Todd playing the lead role, uh, and I enjoyed it. I really did. It's a very good film. I think it's respectful of the material. It's not just a complete plagiarization of the original film. I thought he did a great job, and of course the special effects with Tom Savini at the helm, they're going to be good. So I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I really enjoyed the fact that uh, the female lead in this film, her character was a strong woman, unlike the first film. This one, I think Savini was smart to change her into a very strong woman. In fact, she ends up being, of course, uh, the the surviving girl, the final girl, if you will. Um, do I like it better than Night of the Living Dead, the original? No. Um, I think the Night of the Living Dead, or the original Night of the Living Dead, is a genuinely disturbing and creepy film. 1990s film, uh, in the light of today's modern horror fan viewing audience, it's just not as it doesn't resonate like the original film. But what other films do? I mean, it's a short list of films that are going to resonate like Romero's original classic. But having said that, I enjoyed it, and of course I've seen it multiple times. But I enjoyed this viewing of it. This going to spend some time going through the special features in November on this Umbrella release. But this is an excellent release. Highly recommended. All right, well that'll wrap up day 8. Sorry I'm behind with these, but we'll catch them up here shortly. Thanks.